Hello everyone, this is Grace. It is January the 12th, 2024, and we are going to be taking a look at the scriptures for the video on the fall of man in our story of salvation video. So let's go ahead and get started. So I put this in here. Let's just read it. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them. So I put this in here. I didn't have it in here at first, but I wanted to show you it said the man. He created the man, not a man. He had already created a man. Not only that, there's other words in here which makes, I can't remember. Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. There was some other wording in here that made me think that. I can't remember, but there is, I do want to say, well, two things. If you are not clear as to why he's saying, let them have dominion and let them have dominion over the cattle, I covered this briefly in my video on divorce. It's in there. I actually spread it out over 3 videos, but the primary portion is in divorce. That's really all you need to see. If you watch that, it'll explain that he created them male and female. And then he took the female portion. Actually, I'll just explain it to you now. And then he took the female portion out of Adam and made woman. So, that's why he says them. Anyway, also, you might want to look, unless you know that the crucifixion is a lie the way they told it. You also may want to watch that video as well, because Jesus was not nailed to a cross, not according to the Bible anyway. He was hung. All right, let's continue on though. And Adam lived 130 years and begat a son in his own likeness, after his image, and called his name Seth. Adam's sons were born in captivity. They were not free men as Adam was when he was made. When he had his children, all of them were born slaves to Satan. And so when I said there was other men, they were like, and I said they were probably mortal. That's why. It's because when Adam had all of his sons, they were made in his image, and his image had been marred. He was no longer free under the guardianship of God. He had now been sentenced to mortality. That had been taken away, and his dominion had been given up to Satan. So he didn't have the image of God because he was no longer free under God. He was no longer... He no longer had dominion. I think I put dominion on there, because as a slave, you don't have authority over your stuff. You have to do what your master tells you to do. And even though Satan can't make you do anything, he still has authority here. This is his domain. And then the third one was he was made a living soul. He was made where he didn't have to die. Now he must die because of the sin. Okay, so let's continue. So all of his sons are mortal as well. But the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, thou shalt not eat of it, for in the day thou dost eat thereof, thou shalt surely die. This word surely here is what led me to this investigation quite a while ago. I kept I was wondering, why is it surely die? And I kept seeing this die. And so that's why I investigated this, because it has two dies there. And I thought that was very strange. And so I looked up the word surely. And this is where you get the understanding of what really happened. This surely is a judgment. The word is indicative of some sort of judgment being placed against you. And we'll look at other uses of the word. The die just tells you how you're going to die. It'll be put to death sometime. You're going to be turned into a mortal. Here it tells him he's going to be mortal. Hold on. Let me get our... Oh, hold on. Okay, let me get the scriptures for all here. Let's bring this in here. So, if we look, thou shalt not eat of it. Here, this word here. And I have, so, surely, it just means death when you look it up in Google. Okay, but then this word means mortality. You're going to die by becoming, and your sentence is becoming immortal. Hold on, let me look this up here. Okay, make sure I got the right one here, because we just want to look at the ones that say surely. Okay. So, and I also put some examples in there. Actually, let's look at some of the others here first. So you see, oh, hold on. Do I have the right? Oh no, hold on. Okay, well, this has instances where there's just one. So we'll just look at this one where it says to put to death. So here you have, I would pick the one that only has one. Here we go. To surely, to be put to death. And then it says he shall be put to death. And he that curseth his... Oh, this is not a right... I don't know if that's an accurate verse, you guys. I'm sorry. I'm not having luck with my verses here. To be put to death, he shall be put to death. So the sentence here is found guilty. He's going to be guilty of death, and he shall be put to death. And if you go through and you look at these, whenever they say surely die, they're saying you're found guilty of something. And thou shalt set bounds unto the people round about, saying, take heed to yourself that ye go not unto the mount to touch the border of it. Whosoever touches the mount shall surely shall be found guilty of and worthy of the death penalty, and they will be put to death. And that's what we see throughout. To be put to death, he shall be put to death. This is a guilty verdict of whatever crime they committed in that verse. Okay? So now let's look at the ones. No, we're not going to look at these. I'll show them to you. I'll show you the list here of the verses. But I put some verses in for us to go through, so we don't need to go through those. Okay, so surely... Oh, so his was mortality, and then we get to her, and she says, but the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God has said, ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. No, surely. But when he says it, he says, thou shalt not surely die. But he uses the same verbiage as her. She uses, oh, I want to show you. Hold on. I do want to show you. She uses moderation. I want to show you in scriptures for all. Generous. Hold on. Lest she died. So here's the word here. And here's her word. Moderation. You're going to slowly die. And here's his word, shall surely die. And he repeats her verbiage back to her. You shall not be judged guilty of death and die in moderation. So she just didn't know. She just didn't understand. Let's continue on. Oh, and incidentally, this is not incidental. You'll need to, this is how I came up with the story. One of the, we didn't give Eve the benefit of the doubt. Eve was completely innocent in that garden. She had no reason to lie. So the only reason, she had no fear. If you have no fear, then you have no reason to lie. So when she said you shall not touch it, she wasn't lying. It had to have been told to her not to touch the tree. And if she was told not to touch it, and this whole world is new to her, when she sees the little beastie in the tree, wouldn't the natural response be to look and see what was going to happen to it? That's the only thing it could have done. Otherwise, why would she say it? She could not possibly have been lying. She would not have known how to lie because she would not have had fear in her to do so. So why would she say it otherwise? She told him the truth. She gave him a perfect understanding of what she had been told. And so when I saw that, that's when I started working backwards and building the story from how we got from what was told to, because the original investigation was just these words. And when I saw that none of them lined up, I had to come up with a story that fit the words that were given to me. And what fit was that God taught Adam, so Adam understood. God didn't teach Eve, so she didn't understand. But Adam, who loved Eve and was even willing to eat an apple and share her fate, he was overly protective of her. And instead of just giving her the facts, he went overboard and he said, don't even touch it. Just don't touch it. Don't go near it. I want you to stay safe. And that's where those words came from. It came from the overprotective, I don't want to say it as though it's a bad thing, but it came from a place of love. But she just didn't understand it. She just didn't understand. And so, when she saw the beast in the tree and she saw him touch it, she was like, oh, what's going on over here? She stood there, she watched, he saw her, and he took advantage of the opportunity. He probably knew. He probably was watching her, but I have no idea if that's true. I don't. So let's continue on. We should be able to get through the rest of it fairly quickly. I will ransom them from the power of the grave. I will redeem them from death, O death. I will be thy plague, O grave. I will be thy destruction. Repentance shall be hid from mine eyes. I'm not sure why I put that in there, but it does go with the first story, where Jesus ransoms them from Satan. All of this goes together. Here, Saul, when I first read this, I thought that Saul was being vain. I thought he should have been praying when he was actually out there doing what I considered to be, at the time, a little bit vain. Then This was part of my reason for the study on the word surely, actually. I don't think it was. I can't remember. I actually don't remember. I'm sorry. It's been too long. I did this like last year sometime. And the men of, well, last year, I did this many months ago, almost a year ago, I think. And the men of Israel were distressed, not like in the beginning of last year, sometime I started it. And the men of Israel were distressed that day, for Saul had adjured the people, saying, "Cursed be the man that eateth any food until evening, that I may be avenged of mine enemies." So none of the people tasted any food. So he's applying a curse here. This curse, by the way, is it's going to sound very, very strange. But this curse that he's applying to them is the curse to not eat blood. I can't even remember it now. To not eat blood. Yeah, that's the curse. That's why I was saying it was this one. I can't recall if it was this or if it was the dead, because they were both around the same time. Sometime last year. It wasn't the beginning of last year, but it was last year sometime. And yeah, so he's talking about the law about the not eating blood, but he's going to eat honey. That's why I said it's going to be hard to believe, but he's going to eat honey. And all they of the land came to a wood, and there was honey upon the ground. And when the people were coming to the wood, behold, the honey dropped, but no man put his hand to his mouth, for the people feared the oath. But Jonathan heard not when his father charged the people with an oath. Wherefore he put the end of the rod that was in his hand, and dipped it in a honeycomb, and put his hand to his mouth, and his eyes were enlightened. Then answered one of the people and said, Thy father straitly charged the people with an oath, saying, Cursed be the man that eateth any food this day. And the people were faint. Then said Jonathan, My father has troubled the land. See, I pray you, how mine eyes have been enlightened, because I tasted a little bit of this honey. How much more, if happily the people had eaten freely today of the spoil of their enemies which they found? For had there not been now a much greater slaughter among the Philistines? And they smote the Philistines that day from Michmash to Ajalon, and the people were very faint. Now, it's going to come. Well, let's read it. Then they told Saul, saying, Behold, the people sin against the Lord, and that they eat with the blood. Oh, okay, it says it here. And he said, Ye have transgressed, roll a great stone unto me this day. I'm not going to read all of this. The people stop him from killing Saul. They stop him from killing Jonathan. But my point is that he says, I don't know where it is in here. Okay, well, we can just look at scriptures for all and see. 1 Saul 14:39. For as the Lord liveth, which saveth Israel, though it be Jonathan my son, he shall surely die. But there was not a man amongst the people that answered him. So he wanted to know who had broke the oath. And then also verse 44. And Saul answered, God do so and more also, for thou shalt surely be judged guilty, and you shall be put to death. So let's continue on. And Abimelech charged all his people, saying, He that touches this man or his wife shall surely be put to death. Let's look at that as well. That's Genesis 26. That's not one. 26. Why did I put this in here? I wonder. Let's see what it says. To be put to death, he shall be put to death. It's the same. Okay, it's just different words. Okay, so we're not going to look up anymore, and I don't know how many I put in here. He that smiteth the man so that he dies shall be judged guilty, and shall be sentenced to death, shall be put to death. He that stealeth a man and selleth him, or if he be found in his hand, so if he sell him or if he buy him, he shall, wait a minute, or if he be found in his hand. I'm not going to try and work that out right now. He shall surely be put to death. And the man that committeth adultery with another man's wife, even he that committeth adultery with his neighbor's wife, the adulterer and the adulteress shall surely be put to death. For the Lord has said of them, they shall surely die in the wilderness, and there was none left. Okay. Oh, this is interesting. And for the Lord had said of them, they shall surely die in the wilderness, and there was not left a man of them save Caleb, the son of Jephthah, and Joshua, the son of Nun. So you guys remember the ordinances which only applied to their generation. Your generation, you tell your children and your children's children and their children's after them. The only two that had to keep those laws of those ordinances were Caleb and Joshua. Those were the only two that made it out of the wilderness. Those were the only two that were held to those ordinances. Just the ones that say your generations, not perpetual generations, okay? Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Okay, I put this in here because it uses 430 as God's. A psalm of Asaph, God standeth in the congregation of the mighty. He judges among the gods. And I didn't do any work for that to compare it or anything like that. I just threw it in at the last minute, so you can investigate that on your own. But it's plural. And Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in transgression. Notwithstanding, she shall be saved in childbearing if they continue in faith and charity and holiness with sobriety. Adam has to till the land. That's his hardship. That's how he's going to learn to be grateful and to learn to hate sin. Eve is going to have a family, and through childbearing, she'll learn to be grateful and to hate sin. They each have their trials. They're just different. But she transgressed. She didn't understand. Eve didn't. That's it. Okay, that's the scriptural support that I have for my previous video on the story of salvation, part 2, the fall. I will talk with you in the next video.